The first part of this class really lays a foundation for some of the key concepts, contexts, and theories that frame what we do in health communication. The second half of this class focuses a lot more on the specific contexts and three main areas of organizational approaches, interpersonal approaches, and media approaches to health communication. Unit 5 takes a stab at organizational approaches to health communication. And there's a key set of concepts that I want to focus on as you think about this unit. And that's the concepts associated with organizational socialization. And on the surface, socialization is learning to behave properly within a specific community. But when you dig a bit deeper, one of the things that I really want you to realize is that people need training. Through school, on the job, as a volunteer, in life, we all need some education. We all need to know the ropes in terms of what an organization expects of us and requires of us. And socialization teaches us how to act in various settings based on things like organizational structure and culture. As you think about these various different concepts related to organizational socialization, I also want you to think about some examples from the Scrubs video that you watched for this unit, because this particular video focuses on multiple different ways that JD is socialized as a new doctor at the hospital. If you've spent any time in an organizational communication class like CST 308, you've probably learned that there are two key types of organizational socialization. The first is called anticipatory socialization, and the second is called organizational assimilation. Anticipatory socialization involves the messages that you get throughout your life that prepare you to act in certain ways in specific settings. A lot of this comes through education, your parents or whoever raised you, different messages that you might receive from the media, television shows, movies, newspapers, magazines, popular culture. All of these can serve as sources for anticipatory socialization. To give you a specific example, think about a career placement test that you might have taken while you were in junior high or high school. These career placement tests are often designed to prime you to think about particular careers or professions that you might be well suited for. This might help you to make some decisions about when and where you would like to go to college or a vocational school, or seek out some other form of training to prepare you to enter the workforce. But anticipatory socialization isn't just work-related. These types of messages can prepare you for any type of interaction that you might have with an organization, including what to expect when you go to a hospital or go to a volunteer organization or sign up to help out with some sort of health fair. Any type of message that primes you for interacting with these organizations can serve as a form of anticipatory socialization. In the text, Dupre talks specifically about how caregivers are socialized to think about their professions based on particular categories. So that's another example of how anticipatory socialization can prime people to engage in health communication in particular ways. Another example is organizational assimilation. And these are messages that you receive once you start a job, join a community, volunteer for an organization, and so on. And these messages cue you into the expectations of the organization's structure and culture. Again, organizational assimilation happens once you arrive in the organization. So think about an orientation that you might have had once you started UNCG, or an orientation that you had at the beginning of a job. Think about the very first time that you and your coworkers engaged in some of your work practices together. All of those are examples of formal and informal organizational assimilation that help you learn the ropes once you get on site. So think about some examples of how JD is both encountering anticipatory socialization before he gets to his career, but also organizational assimilation once he actually arrives at the hospital for the first day. On the back side of the sheet that I gave you, I have some examples of how socialization is linked directly to several other communication concepts, and these are covered in the Dupre text, and they include things like hidden curriculum, rites of passage, organizational processes, and organizational culture. I'll let you explore those on your own and seek out some examples from the Scrubs video that illustrate these types of concepts. I'll also let you do that for some of the concepts and contexts to which socialization is linked indirectly to other communication terms. And these include concepts covered in the Dupre text, such as the personal, technical, and public spheres, regarding how we're socialized to act differently in all spheres of life, but those spheres are often blurring thanks to technology. Also, strong ties and weak ties. This comes from organizational network theory, and socialization teaches us to develop stronger and weaker ties based off of the relationships that we have with people in that organization. And when you take that back to the hidden curriculum, it suggests that we model those with whom we have stronger ties. And that's a key idea that I want you to seek out in the Scrubs video. Some other indirectly linked ideas are that of the shared decision making and social support. I'd like to make a special point here in terms of social support. We covered this in our previous unit, Unit 4, about social approaches to health communication. There are some interesting relationships between social support and socialization. More specifically, if you receive good instrumental and informational support when you first enter an organization, so during that organizational assimilation phase, that really is a strong example of how social support and socialization overlap. It's a good example of socialization because you're giving good instrumental and informational support. And it's a good example of social support because you're providing strong socialization practices. So those two really go hand in hand and show some overlap between organizational theory and health practice. So that's a key example of how we use organizational theories to study a health context. So take a look at Scrubs, see how all of this fits together, and let me know what you think about Unit 5.